Good evening. This is the Northern Sun Experience, joined right away by former Augustana point guard Jordan Dalton, breaking down NSIC basketball. And Jordan, we're going to start on the men's side right away with your alma mater, Augustana. They got 2 more wins, but probably their 2 toughest games, conference games of the season. First, on Friday, Winona State holds them to 75 points. That's a season low for the Vikings. And then they get a tough win at Upper Iowa, only a 9-point victory, their first non-double-digit conference win. Are these kinds of close games and tough opponents maybe just what the doctor ordered?
Yeah, I really think Augie realizes that every single night they step on the court, they're going to get the opposing team's best shot. You know, when you're the number 2 team in the country, everybody has that game circled on their calendar. So guys are going to play a little harder. They maybe make a couple more shots than they normally do. But I thought Augustana did a great job of just getting wins. You know, they understand they got to continue to get better each and every week. But they also understand that, like I said, guys are going to come out and play with a little bit more intensity. Like in Saturday night's game, Upper Iowa, you know, Jordan Hughes, he's on the season a 30% three-point shooter, knocks down, goes 7 for 12 from three-point line. You know what I mean? It's one of those things they just have to understand that the level of intensity is going to be raised every single time they step on the court because of the type of success they have had. But I thought they did a great job in both games of just finishing. You know, these are I always say tournament testing type games where, you know, Friday night they go on a 15-6 run in the second half to really put that game away. And then Saturday night they end the Upper Iowa game on a 7-0 run. And so it's one of those things that they're going to get tested, they're going to be in close games, but I think they're building up a lot of confidence in their ability to really finish basketball games.
Absolutely. Daniel Jansen won his 3rd straight NSIC South Division Player of the Week.
You guys, not too bad, huh?
No, not too bad at all. Well, Minnesota State Moorhead also continues to win. 2 road victories for them over Minnesota Crookston and Bemidji State. At this point, the Dragons, they pretty much know who they are. So going into the showdown with Augie in a couple of weeks, what are they learning about themselves right now?
Yeah, I think when you look at the Dragons and the way they're playing, they are a very, very focused basketball team. They understand that every week they have to come out and play with the same level of intensity and focus as if they're playing number 2 team in the country. You know, like you said, as analysts, we get to sit here and we get to theorize and kind of look forward to that game against Augustana. But the Dragons, you can tell every night they step on the court, they just want to get better. You know, they believe in the process. They understand that this thing is a process. And every single time they step on the court, they want to get better. You know, great teams, we talk about a consistency. And so it's easy for the Dragons to get hyped up and get jacked up when you're playing the number 2 team in the country in a couple of weeks. But how do you come out every single week, no matter who your opponent is, and play that way? And I think they've done that. And once again, they continue to believe in one another. They continue to have great team chemistry and trust. You know, this past weekend, both games, they assisted on more than 60% of their made baskets. And so it's a team, like you said, they understand who they are. They move the ball well. They trust one another. But I think they just want to continue to get better. Obviously, you want to be playing your best basketball when March comes. And I think they're still trending upwards. You know, I had one slip up in the middle of the season, but I love their intensity. I love their focus. And I just love their chemistry out there on the court.
Minnesota State Moorhead 21-2 overall on the season. Well, maybe the most surprising final of the entire weekend, Minot State winning by 30 points, 94-64 on the road at Minnesota Duluth. Jordan, the Beavers are just 5-9 in the conference, but 6 of those 9 losses have been by less than 8 points. So can Minot State maybe make some noise down the stretch?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for them. Obviously, 4 of their last 8 games comes against teams who have a 500 or better record, in conference play this year. So I think it's going to be tough for them to make a really solid push the last couple of months or the last month of the season. But what I think they can do is go into the NSIC tournament with some great momentum. Last 2 weeks of the season, they play against 3 of the 4 teams that they beat already this year. And you talked about it. They're in every game. They just haven't been able to get over that hurdle. So I think if their main focus should be, hey, let's get into the tournament playing our best basketball in those final 2 weeks, on a high note, and maybe we can be dangerous in the NSIC tournament. Right now they're a great defensive team, holding teams under 44% shooting on the season, and so they have an ability to kind of muck up the game, make it an ugly game that doesn't have a lot of flow to it, and that's where they prevail at. So I really think their focus, once again, getting better each week, but more importantly, just going into the NSIC tournament with a lot of momentum.
You mentioned their defense, Minot State in the bottom half of the conference in scoring, but they're scoring defense 4th in the entire conference. Well, other than the teams we've mentioned, who's maybe an under-the-radar team right now as we head into the final month of conference play?
Yeah, I think we hit on it earlier. I think it's Upper Iowa. They're a great team with, once again, a lot of offensive power. Jordan Hughes had back-to-back nights where he set his career high. And so it's a team that can really put points on the board. Right now they're sitting at 500 at 7-7 in conference, but they have a great 4-game homestand in February. And if they can sweep those 4 games, they can really get a lot of momentum going into the tournament. And we've talked about it all year. I think they're a great offensive team. their ability to get stops consistently at the end of games on the defensive end will be able to show if they're still going to be middle of the pack team or if they're going to be one of the upper echelon teams.
Well, Jordan likes the Peacocks in the final month of the season. Looking specifically at this weekend on the men's side, what's maybe the biggest game or games?
Yeah, I want to see how St. Cloud does this weekend. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak. They have 2 games at home this weekend, and I want to see if they can keep that momentum going. We talk about it as basketball players and as athletes in general. Momentum is a great thing. Confidence is really a great thing, and so they've done some good things in the last couple of weeks, and I want to see if they have the ability to keep that run going.
Well, to keep an eye on the Huskies this weekend. Well, when we come back, Jordan will break down the previous weekend in women's hoops.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience, here again with former Augustana point guard Jordan Dalton to talk women's hoops now. Jordan, the top 3 teams record-wise in the conference all won both of their games this weekend. So we'll start with Winona State, topped Augustana by 26 points, and they topped the defending regular season champion Wayne State by 14 points. Maybe a good bounce-back weekend for the Warriors after they lost to UMary last week?
Yeah, I think it was a great statement weekend for the Warriors is what it was. They had 2 great wins, like I said, not only by double digits, but holding both opponents under 50 points in both games. And so when you have that type of effort on the defensive end, you can tell, like you said, last couple weeks, dropped one against Mary and maybe have had some close games in there. And so I think this was a statement weekend for them to say, hey, we are still one of, if not the elite team in this conference. And what it does also is it kind of lays the foundation for the rest of the season. They understand the type of intensity and focus they can play with on the defensive end because they were able to show it against 2 pretty good teams this past weekend. So that has to be the expectation moving forward. They can't have any falters or anybody falter as far as a lack of intensity and a lack of focus. And so that's why I like to see 2 wins like this is because it shows, hey, we're preparing, we're gearing up for the tournament, but not only are we a good team, but we want to be a great team, and we have the ability to show that night in and night out.
Winona State leading the NSIC with a 12-2 conference record, while Northern State continued its defensive trend. They held Bemidji State to 43 points, but had a really tough battle against Minnesota Crookston. They eventually pulled away 76-70. Maybe good for the Wolves to have a game like that in the 70s to prove that they can outscore some teams?
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal for the Wolves to win a game in the 70s. I think the scouting report all year long has been, hey, if you score more than 65 points against Northern State, you have a really, really solid chance at winning. And so that builds confidence in the team to understand that, hey, even if the score does get in the 70s, we're able to compete and we have the firepower to get wins, and when scores are that high. I still think their calling card and their reason for winning that game against Crookston was their attention to detail on the defensive end. Minnesota Crookston is a great 3-point shooting team, and I thought Northern did a great job of limiting them to just 25% shooting from the 3-point line. And so I love to see teams' attention to detail this far into the season because it really shows who's locked in, who's focused, and who's trying to get better each and every week. And once again, the Wolves' defense is always going to be their calling card, but they were able to show, hey, we can put some points on the board too.
Yeah, and absolutely a good bounce back after they gave up 82 points to Sioux Falls the previous weekend and lost that game, so a good bounce back from Northern State. Speaking of Sioux Falls, they won both of their games this weekend, but they had a struggle against Concordia St. Paul on Friday. Kind of a middle-of-the-pack team record-wise. They were down most of that game. So what does it maybe say about the Cougars' resolve to win that contest?
Yeah, I think it's something we've talked about all year. I don't think any team in the conference has faced more adversity than the University of Sioux Falls Cougars. Through all the controversy, ups and downs, I think they still have that mental toughness and just that grittiness about them to, hey, regardless of what's going on, we're going to go out here and get a win. And I think that all starts with Taylor Varsho. Anybody who's gotten a chance to see her play, she gives maximum effort every single minute she's out there, and she plays with a sense of fearlessness and confidence about her that's just infectious to the rest of her team. And so when you have a leader like that where no moment's too big and she never thinks that they're out of the game, it really, really feeds onto the other players. And so, which is why obviously she was the NSIC Player of the Week for the 3rd time this year. And so I think they have such a great leader, at the head of that snake that they can really, really ride on her coattails, throughout the rest of the season.
Taylor Varsho, the Colorado State transfer, playing really well for USF. Well, the same question I asked on the men's side, what's a women's team that's under the radar that you're looking at into this final month of conference play?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the St. Cloud Huskies on the women's side. They started the conference season off great, won 9 of their first 10 conference games, kind of hit a bump in the road there where they lost 3 out of 4. But they did have two wins this past weekend, and so I want to see if they can kind of regain some of that confidence and bounce back and get back to their winning ways. They have 3 players averaging double figures right now, and so when you have that type of variety on the offensive end, it's really hard to game plan for it. And so they got a lot of versatile players who can score inside and out, and you never know who's going to step up each and every game. And so I really want to see if the Huskies can kind of get back on that, use this past weekend as a momentum builder, and get back, like I said, to how they were playing at the beginning of the season.
All right, so you like the Huskies going down the stretch. Well, specifically with this weekend, what's the best game you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think USF versus St. Cloud. I think that's going to be a great matchup. 2 high-scoring teams. Both teams score over 75 points a game in conference play. Both teams like to play up-tempo. Both teams like to shoot a lot of three-pointers. So I think it's going to be a very, very entertaining game. But if St. Cloud wants to prove that they're still one of those top upper echelon teams, I think that'll be a great challenge for them.
We are in the final month of the conference season. As a former player, when you get into sort of the halfway point, sort of the nitty-gritty part of the schedule, what's your mindset like?
It's completely business. We're focused, and we want to get better each and every week. And I'm sure that's what every coaching staff is harping on this week, and really all the way throughout the season. It doesn't matter what we've done up until this point because we talk about it all the time. The conference season, the conference tournament, that's where it's at. So teams, like you said, you are what your record says you are at this point, but we want to get better each and every week. We can't rest on our laurels. And last but not least, you just want everybody to be healthy. Healthy teams really give themselves the best shot at winning, not only obviously conference games, but once you get into tournament time as well.
Should be a fun final month.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you very much, Jordan Dalton. Well, when we come back, the conference wrestling season is in full swing. Highlights from the first full weekend of NSIC duels are next.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Well, we're less than 2 months away from the Division II Wrestling Championships, and some NSIC teams are already starting to make names for themselves nationally. Last year's champions, St. Cloud State, Upper Iowa, and Augustana are all ranked in the top 15 of the latest coaches poll. We'll start with the defending champion Huskies as they took on MSU Moorhead this weekend. 149 pounds, Kurt Zachmeyer takes down Isaac Novacek for 2 quick points, and he would eventually win the match 7-2. Moved to 157 pounds, St. Cloud State's Larry Bomstad taking down Dylan Connell. He gets the pin in just under 2 minutes. And at 165, Clint Poster locked up with Adam Blees, but Poster will eventually get the pin for the Huskies. St. Cloud State proves why they're ranked number 2 in the country with a 44-3 victory. Upper Iowa currently ranked 11th nationally, taking on Northern State. At 125, Lincoln Monroe has Ben Kaufman in a precarious position, but he eventually gets 2 points and wins in a 5-2 decision. Moved to 141 pounds, Jordan Roths gets 2 on the takedown and wins the major decision 14-5. Joe Gomez would have a nice win for Northern State at 197, but it would not be enough as the Peacocks topped the Wolves 34-16. Meanwhile, Augustana hosted Southwest Minnesota State on Friday. Start at 149, the Vikings' Jacob Anderson gets the quick takedown at Paul Norgan. He would eventually get his 3rd pin of the season. To 157 pounds we go. The Vikings' Sean Hattelstad locked up with Patrick Kelly, but he goes for the leg and eventually gets 2 points on the takedown and a 9-2 decision. Finally, at 184 pounds, Arrow Amo trying to get the pin on Brody Gones, and he eventually would get it. Amo is now 14-0 in duels this season as the Vikings top the Mustangs 27-12. Coming up next, we go under the Northern Sun at Minnesota State University, Moorhead.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Well, it's time to shine the spotlight on one of our member schools with a feature we like to call Under the Northern Sun. And tonight, Minnesota State Moorhead has a bit of a different look at campus life. through the eyes of the NSIC's leading scorer, Isaac Sievely, who displays rhythm both on and off the court.
Men's basketball senior Isaac Sievely is well known for moments like this, but he's also well known for moments like this.
Student athlete, it's pretty busy, and most student athletes, I mean, you don't have the opportunity to do like a concert like that and show what you've learned. So it was a really fun opportunity to just get out, show what I've learned, and show that I, do other things other than basketball,
An incredibly talented man both on and off the floor, Sievely presented his other specialty besides the slam dunks and block shots we've all seen on TV at his senior recital on MSUM's Gady stage.
Well, I had to sing in 4 languages. That was part of the requirement because you also present what you know, and it's just part of the voice faculty. It's just standard what you have to do. It was super cool because I felt like all the songs I sang had this really great meaning that I could connect to. None of the songs really were just kind of like, bah. I mean, there was one song that I felt like it was super like, da-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, and I was like, okay. But for all the other ones, I felt like there's a character I was trying to present. It was just super fun getting to just have fun and try to be musical. I think it went pretty good. I mean, it wasn't perfect. My legs were shaking, I remember, for the first 3 songs, and then when I walked out, I came back on, and they still were shaking, but a little less. By the 3rd time I came back on for the 3rd set, I was definitely a lot more calm, but you don't do that every day, so it was an experience, but I thought it went pretty well.
It seems like Sievely is comfortable on both stages, so we asked him, how does the court and the concert compare?
They're so different, but they're so same at the same time. It's hard to make that comparison, but the one thing I would probably say is the most significant is how you just have to have chemistry. Like me and my piano player, you gotta have chemistry because we both want to put forth that really great, we just want to be good musicians together and give a pleasurable experience for all the people that came. And it's the same with basketball. We want to try to get the win, and you can only do that together.
The bond between student and athlete is always special, but performing one in front of the other and the support of both is what makes this moment special for Sievely.
Some of the guys really liked it, and they kind of made jokes about it later, but they were all super supportive throughout my whole academic to this point. And just to be able to see them there really was a confidence booster for sure. You can't really see very much, but you could, but I could tell because Walt was doing his typical stance. He was like, arms crossed and way back, leg over. And I just remember being like, okay, yeah, everyone's here, and like there were so many of my teachers there. I mean, they're very busy people, and it was just who I've become basketball-wise, academically. It's just been really great. I mean, all of the faculty, super supportive, willing to work with you, and I definitely wouldn't recommend another place to anybody.
Whether he's slamming, shooting, or singing, we're all very proud to call Sievely a dragon.
When we come back, it's DB's Picks, my top 5 plays of the past week. You're watching the Northern Sun Experience.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. It's time for DB's Picks, my top 5 plays of the past week in the NSIC. At number 5, Casey Schilling goes in for the hammer against Upper Iowa. Off the great feed from Jordan Spencer, one of Augie's senior leaders glides through the air for 2. Augie kept their perfect conference season record intact, and Schilling's throwdown serves notice that the Vikings mean business. For number 4, Brittany Dietz throws a touchdown. It may not be football, but from half court, the pass is perfectly placed to Anna Schmelzer for the lay-in for You Mary. Check it out again. Dietz gets it over the St. Cloud State defenders easily to find Schmelzer for the bucket. Brittany's beauty for the Marauders checks in at number 4. For numbers 3 and 2, an ode to the defense against Upper Iowa. First, the Peacocks look like they have a steal of their own, but Augustana's Presley O'Farrell never gives up and steals it right back for the lay-in. Here it is again. Augie's pass is tipped and initially stolen away by Upper Iowa, but O'Farrell never retreats on defense and swoops in for the steal and score at play number 3. At number 2, this time the men's side steals something from the Peacocks. Off the inbounds pass, Wayne State's Vance Jansen takes it away on the baseline and drives in for the layup plus the foul. Great pressure on the inbounds. Jansen doesn't give an inch, and the freshman ends up with the steal plus 3 the hard way. Jansen had a career-high 4 steals on the evening, but none bigger than play number 2. But our number 1 play goes to Bemidji State freshman Calvin Harrington, playing well beyond his years. After rebounding the missed free throw, Harrington gets it back for the game-winning 3 against Northern State. Down by 2 points, the Beavers don't call timeout after the missed free throw with 7 seconds to go, and Harrington finds some space on the right elbow to hit the biggest shot of his young career. Calvin coming through in the clutch gave the Beavers a 1-point win over Northern State, as well as the number 1 play of the past week in the NSIC. Once again, a thank you to all of our NSIC member schools for their time, video, and contributions for this week's show. Jordan Dalton will be back next week to break down more NSIC basketball, and of course, we'll be right back here with another Northern Sun Experience.